So, well, thank you for joining me, Megan. I'm excited to chat today.
Yeah,
For
thanks for
those of you who don't know, I've known Megan for, oh geez, 15 plus years, something like that. We go way back.
since we're
Megan,
born.
yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Megan and I go way back. She is a dear friend of mine, and client, and she is. I'd call her an animal enthusiast. Like she's a horseback rider. She has her own two beautiful pets. There they are.
Just
Hi,
the
Lola.
one today.
Oh, just one.
Yeah, just chilling.
um, so yeah, so Megan, like, I mean, I think it'd be great to start and maybe talk about Bone and Biscuit in general. Like, what makes your store different than any other store?
Sure. So, owning a pet store was a dream of mine and ours. So, my husband Dan as well. And of course, the first year that we're open, all of this pandemic stuff happens. But we're so blessed that we have such a great community, and the pet community in general is just amazing, which is why we wanted to be a part of it so bad. Um, the difference between our store and other pet stores is that we are a specialty pet retailer. So we don't carry everything. We just carry the top brands. So 5-star, 4.5-star, 5-star dog food, toys, accessories, and all that. But the biggest differentiator between us and some of our competitors is our raw food selection. So raw food is not just a trend anymore. It really is a way of life for a lot of people feeding their dogs. And we carry 7 different brands of raw food. All of them are made in Ontario. And we also have a really robust supplement section. Another big differentiator between us and our competitors is that the staff that work here are required to know about our products. So the ingredients, the labeling, transparency of labeling, what those terms mean in the market, and be able to explain them to our customers. A lot of our customers have dogs and cats who have allergies, who are deathly allergic to some proteins, to some ingredients in some of the food that's out there. And our job is to make sure that we give them the advice that they need. Although we're not vets, we can still give them advice on our products and how they can help them.
Nice, nice. And you guys are Canadian owned, right? Like it
Yes.
did Bone and Biscuit originate in Canada and it's Canada wide, or yeah.
Yeah, so it is a chain and it is Canadian. So it's based out of BC. It is a smaller franchise. We all know each other in Ontario. We all talk to each other. We talk to each other across the country. There's 40 locations across the country. There's 7 in Ontario, and they're all locally owned and operated from people that live and work in the community.
Amazing, amazing. So how has your store like adapted during COVID-19? Like how are you still able to serve your customers?
So we are considered an essential service, and although our doors are closed for foot traffic in the store, we are doing curbside pickup and we're doing free delivery locally as well. So as I said, I have customers whose dogs will literally die if they eat grocery store dog food. So we're so happy that we're able to be open and serve the community and be able to keep those pups fed and healthy. And
That's
cats,
amazing.
and cats,
Yes.
cats too.
um, and okay, so like I guess I noticed something that you guys do on Wednesdays, which I absolutely love. You give back to local vets, or sorry, pet rescue. You give back to pet rescue. So can you tell us like a little bit of what you offer on Wednesdays?
So right now, our nail trims for charity program is on hold, but it is a passion project for us. Myself and Selena, one of my employee that works here, she donates her time and I donate my space, and we raise money for pets. So we do $10 nail trims for dogs and cats and rabbits and guinea pigs. Whoever wants to come in and get a nail trim, we'll do it. It's $10 cash. It doesn't go through the store. We want to make sure that the pet rescues get every penny of that donation. And 100% of the proceeds from that go to local pet rescue. So we just did a big, and Fetch and Releash is one of the rescues that we give to. They're fantastic. They're all foster based. They don't have shelters, but they do have animals that come in from up north and from down south, and from just local animals in need who are being rehomed, and they need help. So medical, food, supplements, all that stuff.
Amazing. Amazing. So I've noticed, you know, a lot of people getting new pets during this quarantine time. Like I would say, like, what kind of pet do you think is probably like the best pet to get, or how do you know which pet to choose for your family?
That is a heavy question. So every pet has their pros and cons, and you know, you're welcoming a new member of your family into your home, and it really depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your realistic expectations on how to meet these pets' needs. I can speak to what it's like to have cats, dogs, horses. My sister has a hedgehog. I've had hamsters and guinea pigs and all that, fish. And they all have very different needs. And even within those needs, there's different breeds. So if you're just focusing on, say, dogs and cats, for example, the different breeds of dogs and cats have different needs. So if you're getting a working dog, and I'm just going to use a border collie as an example, they need a lot of exercise, they need a lot of mental stimulation. A lot of terriers, regardless of what size they are, need a lot of mental stimulation and exercise. People might get a little Yorkie and think that all they need is a run up and down the hallway, but then you hear sometimes they complain about the dog acting out or being destructive, or all of a sudden developing behaviors that they're really not comfortable with in the home. And sometimes you have to look at how you're able to meet the needs of the animal based on what their breeds are. So typically bulldogs are lazier. There's a bulldog that comes in here that drags his knuckles when he walks. He doesn't eat when he walks down the road.
Right.
And then again, a breed like a border collie needs a lot of exercise and attention.
Right. So it's important to research your pet before just picking one based on the way they look. You want to know what their mannerisms are, and if you can, like you said, like meet their needs. That's yeah.
And be realistic about it. Like if you want a cuddle buddy and if you want to lay in bed, maybe a breed like a Shiba Inu might not be the best breed for you because they're notoriously aloof and they don't have a lot of loyalty. They're still very connected with their wildness. So stuff like that. If you want a super cuddly dog, maybe look at something like a mixed breed or a Shih Tzu, or, you know, something that is known for being snuggly.
Right. Okay. And then how do you pick a dog's food? You know, a friend of ours actually just got a new pet, and then the dog came with a certain food, but now she wants to switch it to give the dog a better brand or high quality food. So how do you feed your new pet?
Food is always something that we struggled with when we got our dogs. We at first everybody has their own opinion. Food is like the Wild West, so I can only offer my opinion as a retailer and knowing about all the brands and a little bit about the market. Vets have a vet brand that they push and that they make money on, and while those foods are really good for treating certain things, and while they have their place, absolutely, they may not be the best overall for your pet throughout its lifetime. Like they can survive on it, but will they thrive on it? And a lot of people are doing what they're doing in their own health and wellness regime, looking at the ingredients. Look at the ingredients, understand what these ingredients are. If something says that it has meal in it, if it has something like brewer's rice as opposed to brown rice, if it has tapioca, look at the kind of grains it's using. If it's a grain-free, look at the kind of other protein sources that it's using, like legumes. are a great protein source as well. And just do your research, the same you would do when you're feeding your family. It is a family member, and kibble has come a long way. I mean, we didn't even have kibble 50 years ago. The only reason why kibble happened is because the war happened and we needed all the metal from the meat canned food for the war. So we developed this super cheap way to feed our pets with dry food.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes people say, oh, kibble has been around forever. It actually hasn't. People just typically fed their dogs what they were eating themselves, which is great. Whole foods are great as long as you know which foods are good for your dog. And kibble has some great additives as well. There's some amazing brands on the market. We carry only the 5-star brands. And then there's other options like raw food as well. And raw food is a super clean way to feed your dog. It is no longer this trend of people feeding raw and the market not really understanding much about it. Now there's very reputable companies who have amazing products with really high quality ingredients. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll eat really clean to try to meet like some kind of fitness goal or weight goal or something. And feeding raw is a lot like cleaning up your own diet and just really understanding every ingredient.
Right. Okay. And you just taught me that about kibble. I had no idea about it. So that's interesting. So what can families with kids do to make this transition with a new pet more successful?
So whether you're bringing in a puppy or you're bringing in a rescue, there's so many benefits to both. If you're very breed specific and you're bringing in a puppy from a breeder, or if you don't really care about breed and you really care about personality and you're looking for an older dog that you can really know the personality of the dog before they come in, it's important to set everybody up for success when you're bringing in a new family member. A lot like it's not exactly the same, but when you're bringing in a new baby and you have other kids in the house, you prep those kids for how to behave around the baby. You prep the adults on how to interact with the kids and make sure that it's a safe environment for your new pet. So if you have small children, you need to get everybody on the same page about what are the house rules. In our house, we've got kids come in and out of the house, and they're really dog savvy kids, but they're still children and they still need to be supervised. So leaving a puppy alone with small children is an absolute no-no. It's a setup for disaster. You just want to be a responsible pet parent as well as a child parent, and making sure that the puppies feel safe and loved and not overwhelmed. And I love kids, and kids are amazing, and the kids in my house are very dog savvy, but they have high energy and sometimes they can overwhelm our dogs. So it's our job as responsible dog owners, and their parents' jobs as well, to step in and say, okay guys, take a bit of a breather, give the puppy some space, give the dog some space. We have a don't put your face in her face rule at home. So I actually say to them, like, you need to keep your face this far away from Lola's face. And I have no hesitation that Lola would ever do anything to them, but it visibly makes her uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. It would make us as humans uncomfortable if somebody's in our face all the time.
Exactly. And also, especially during this time, a lot of people are getting puppies. It's a great time to welcome a new family member, whether it's a kitten, whether it's a rescue. It's a great time because everyone's home, but everyone's not going to be home forever. I mean, this won't last forever. It will get better. We will go back to work. So understanding how to bring this pet into your home and also give it the space it needs to set it up for when you do go back to work. So meet the dog's needs or the cat's needs, and then take a break.
Right. So how would that look like then? Sorry, the phone, it's all choppy. How would that look like, setting up the dog for when you do go, or your new pet for when you do go back to work? Like, we're not all going to be home like we are now forever. So when we do go back to work, this pet is going to be left at home alone. Like, how do you set yourself up for success with that?
Routine is key, just as it is with kids. I know a lot of the people in my life that have kids say their children thrive off of a very regimented routine, or a routine in general, and the same goes for pets. So to get up in the morning, do your walk, feed, walk, give the animal their time, their needs, and then have a separation. So whether that's putting the animal in another room, whether you're crating to crate or not to crate is a good question for a trainer. We could talk about that in a second, but giving the space for the animal to understand that you're going to go and then you're going to come back. So
Right.
it's you and your family after you've walked the dog, put the dog away, and go for a walk, just you and the family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things we forget when we're home all the time and we have our pets all the time is that dogs and cats sleep a lot. I have a joke that my dog Bill Murray has 9 or 10 naps a day, and it's actually true. I wish I could 9 or 10 naps a day, but dogs sleep like 18 hours a day.
Right.
So for them to be up all day long and not given that break, it could lead to them feeling overstimulated and overtired, a lot like how toddlers get sometimes,
Right.
when
Yeah.
had too much.
Right.
Yeah, and then that leads to behaviors, like acting out, just like a kid would.
Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned to crate or not to crate. Like, how do you decide if you're gonna train your new pet with a crate or not?
A lot of my customers are seasoned dog owners and they don't need a trainer to help them. I also have a lot of customers who are first time or second time dog owners, and they really want to engage a trainer. And I know a lot of trainers are doing online training right now, a lot like how you and I are talking via Instagram. They're doing Zoom meetings, they're doing FaceTime meetings with customers to make sure that they're set up for success with their pets. And getting a trainer involved, to get everybody in the house on the same page, because my idea of training might not be the same as my husband's idea of training, or
Right.
the kid's idea of
Right.
training. And having an outside person to come in and give us that advice and say, okay, here's your training plan, whether that includes a crate or not, is a great way to get everybody in agreement on how to train the dog or the cat.
Right. Like, to set the boundaries. You got to set boundaries in order to set yourselves and your family up for success.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
to crate or not to crate, it really is a personal thing, and it really depends on the dog. Dogs are pack animals, but they're also den animals. A lot of dogs might complain about being in the crate because they want to be with you because you're their pack, but a crate offers a safe space for the dog. And when you introduce a crate as that safe space and not a punishment space, you don't put the dog or the cat in a crate when they're not being well behaved. You use it as their safe space. A crate is a really great way to house train. Make sure they don't have too much freedom running around the house and peeing in places where you can't see them, because interrupting behavior in the middle of it happening is really important for them to make the connection in their brain that they couldn't go in the house. And also for sleeping and giving them that routine. So when you go to bed, if you're crating at night, they know that their crate is their sleep safe area. So it really depends on your family. It depends on the dog, most importantly, and what they would benefit from.
Makes sense. So I guess, again, like, I do have a couple friends who have recently got new pets, and they're at that point now. It's like, how do you start training? Just doing simple trainings like sitting. And I know it's important probably to get a trainer like you mentioned, but just those small things, like, when do you start, or how do you start training your new pet?
Right away. I would say start out as you mean to go on. For example, when we got Bill Murray, he was only 12 weeks old, and we had already talked about, I don't care what everybody else does, but in my house, I don't like to have the dogs underfoot when I'm in the kitchen. So we have an open concept island and family room, and the dogs are not allowed. There's an invisible line. They're not allowed behind the island. So anywhere where I'm prepping food, they're not allowed. And from the very first day that Bill Murray came in the house, it was a hard no that he was coming in the kitchen. And right. I think I repeated out of the kitchen, out of the kitchen. It's just like on repeat for right. like a week. But you know what? They never go in the kitchen. And when you set it up from the beginning and when you're consistent about those boundaries, you'd be surprised at how fast they pick it up and right. how they maintain it. Consistency is key, especially with a dog like Bill Murray. All dogs have different personalities. Lola, I could tell her one time and she'll never go in the kitchen. But Bill Murray, if I let him in the kitchen one time, he thinks it's like a field day and he's in there every minute. So it's like consistency is key with certain dog personalities.
Right, right. So what if you have a new pet and you didn't start with those boundaries? Like you didn't set those boundaries and now the pet is kind of just taken over your would like, can you go back and start setting those boundaries and then would you set them all right away or maybe like one a week?
Yeah, I mean, it's never too late. It's never too late to start. It's a lot like exercise, right? Like if, I haven't been on a spin bike in a year, where do I start? You just do. You just start. You just make the decision, you start, and it's really up to you. If you want to implement one boundary a week because that's all you can do, that's totally fine. If you want to say, okay, well, from now on, we're going to really follow that training plan that we paid a lot of money from a trainer to actually do. Because a lot of the work from a trainer is work that you have to put in.
Right.
The dog, you don't just tell the dog, like, okay, I paid $700 for this trainer. Now you got to toe the line. It's like the human has to put in all the work.
Right.
The dog doesn't know.
Right.
It's our job to make them know. So, I mean, you can start whenever. It's never too late. That adage about you can't teach an old dog new tricks is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I've seen dogs who are 13 and 14 years old go into a new home, or their owners have a change of perspective and have decided to implement new rules, and they just pick it up.
Right, right. That's amazing. So, like, I know teething is a big problem, especially with new pets. Like, what is the best way to handle teething?
So teething, from my experience, typically comes in a couple of phases. When you get a brand new puppy, their little shark teeth are coming in, their little puppy teeth, so their gums are hurting and they're going to be chewing on everything. Blankets, fingers, shoes. Bill Murray really liked expensive stilettos. So that was a big lesson for me, is to always put my shoes away.
Right.
Which, after he stopped teething, I kind of fell off the wagon on that. But also, they start teething again around like an 8 or 9 month mark, when their adult teeth are really coming in. And again, a lot like kids, it's irritating on their gums. Their gums hurt. They might bleed when they're chewing on stuff. So it's giving the right things to chew on. I have a couple of things, and these are not, you don't have to use these. They're just examples, but there's some teething sticks by Kong. They're really soft. A lot of the little tiny puppies, or the puppies just getting their nursing teeth in, would chew on something like this. Or then there's this guy here. It's also really soft, and you can fill it with something to inspire them to chew on it instead of your fingers, like peanut butter or yogurt, or stuff some treats in there. And then there's also like organic chews, stuff that's made out of, this one's yak milk. It's yak cheese, actually. And it's like a cured cheese. It's 100% yak. So it's got all of these like amino acids in it, and vitamin A and omegas and stuff like that. That's good for your pup. And then there's stuff like bully sticks. A lot of people who have dogs know what a bully stick is. It's just a piece of beef, and it takes a while for them to, well, depending on your dog, some power chewers will really go through this quick. But when they're little puppies, it takes them a long time to go through something like this.
Right.
And because it's beef, it really inspires them to chew on that instead of your $200 stilettos. And then there's also synthetic chews. So one thing I always say to someone getting a new puppy is, any of these organic things here, and any of these things made out of plastic, should always be supervised, because if something comes off of it and they choke on it, I mean, you're not going to give your 1.5-year-old a giant thing of licorice to chew on if you're not there, because you just don't know if they're going to break off a piece that's too big for them.
Right.
So there are some things that you can leave with them unsupervised. I wouldn't say never leave anything unsupervised, but Benny bones, they are a little bit harder. They're synthetic, and they're made out of nylon. They do not come off in chunks, and they last for a really long time. So I think I still have mine from when Bill Murray was a puppy. And a lot of them are flavored, so it will give them some inspiration to chew on it. Like this one's bacon flavor. I've got peanut butter and chicken flavor.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then every dog's different. Some dogs just don't like or are allergic to beef, and we've got tons of options here to meet every dog's needs. But teething it comes in waves, and it's tough to deal with, and it's just the consistency of always taking your hand out of their mouth and giving them something else to chew on.
Right.
They'll get it.
Right. That makes sense. So how can people order from you? Like, are you or taking orders off Instagram or by telephone? Like, tell us how we would make an order.
We are taking orders over the phone, via Instagram. I have a lot of customers who are texting my personal cell phone with orders, where we have an orders email. It's called bbrutherfordorders@gmail.com.
And what's your Instagram handle? It's at Bone and Biscuit Von East.
Yes, so at Bone and Biscuit Von East, and I am the one who picks up all those messages. If I'm not in the store, I forward them to Selena, my employee that's here on the days that I'm not, and she'll get those orders together. We're doing free local delivery, and we're doing curbside pickup. From the time you order to the time you have your product in your hands, I would say the longest anyone has waited is 15 minutes for curbside pickup. And I mean, that's when they're really looking for something specific. So we're personal with most people because they can't come in to see what we have.
Right. So are you utilizing like FaceTime or WhatsApp to kind of bring them around the store in case they don't know exactly what they're looking for, but you can show them?
Yeah. And I found the biggest success so far, because nobody can come in, is every day or every other day I post on my Instagram stories, and then I create highlights across the top of my Instagram page, and they're categorized by shopping. So you can shop toys, you can shop grooming. Grooming has been a big there's been a big uptick in grooming products because groomers are closed, so people are doing DIY grooming. P.S. Right. I really want to see those haircuts of the DIY groomers. But yeah, I mean, you can shop toys, you can shop bowls, you can shop beds, all in our Instagram highlights.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for meeting with me. It was really great talking to you. So if anyone wants to reach out to Megan, again, her Instagram handles at Bone and Biscuit Von East, and she'd be happy to take your orders and just maybe guide you through any questions that you have. All right. Nice.
Bye. Thanks, Sarah. Bye, everybody.